You know, I never thought I'd end up in a battle with a homeowners association. But when the HOA decided to steal my land and build 35 houses on it without permission, I knew one thing: payback was going to be wet, wild, and unstoppable. And the best part? They never saw it coming. My name's Mark. I'm not some big developer or millionaire. I'm just a guy who inherited a few hundred acres of rural land from my grandfather. He loved that land, especially the big fishing lake at the center of it. But here's the twist: that lake wasn't natural. My grandfather built a dam decades ago to create it. And as the landowner, I held all the rights to that dam and the water it held. I thought I'd just live quietly, maybe rent some cabins, do some fishing, and enjoy the peace. But then, the HOA came. About 3 years ago, a new housing development popped up right next to my land. At first, I didn't care. They were outside my property lines, and I figured I'd just ignore them. But the HOA running the development? They didn't ignore me. They started by complaining about my rustic cabins, said they didn't match the aesthetic of their neighborhood. Then they demanded I trim back the trees on my side of the property, because they cast shadows on their homes. And then, the kicker. I came back from a weekend trip and found construction crews on my property. Not just a few feet in, either. They had bulldozed nearly 10 acres of my land and were pouring foundations. Turns out, the HOA had accidentally redrawn the boundary lines on their development map. And when I confronted them, they straight up told me, "It's already built. There's nothing you can do. You should be grateful. Your land value just went up." Grateful? They built 35 houses on my land without paying me a dime. Naturally, I lawyered up. But here's the thing about HOAs. They've got money, and they fight dirty. They dragged the court case out for months. Every time we made progress, they filed new motions, new appeals. Meanwhile, those houses sold. Families moved in. And the HOA just smirked at me in the courtroom like they had already won. But they forgot one tiny detail. That dam. See, my grandfather built that dam solid. But it had a spillway system only I controlled. Without regular upkeep, and without me allowing water flow, the lake level could rise or drop. And here's where it gets juicy. Those 35 stolen homes? They were built right on the floodplain my grandfather had warned about. In fact, the only reason the area had stayed dry all these years was because of my dam. So I started thinking, what would happen if I stopped holding back the water? It started small. I adjusted the gates just enough to let the water rise higher than usual. The HOA president complained that the community park near the houses was soggy. I smiled. Next week, a few backyards had standing water. People called me, demanding I fix my lake. I told them, "Bro, that's not a lake. That's my reservoir. And I think nature just wants her floodplain back." They called the county. The county looked at the property maps. And guess what? The dam and water rights were legally mine. The HOA had no authority. Then came the big storm. Heavy rain for 3 straight days. I watched the water rise against the dam, and I knew this was the moment. I opened the gates. Not all the way, just enough to give nature a little nudge. The water surged down the old creek bed, right into the stolen land. Lawns disappeared. Driveways turned into rivers. The brand new community pool? Gone under brown, swirling water. By the time the rain stopped, the entire development looked like Venice, but without the gondolas. The HOA lost its mind. They threatened to sue me again. They called the police. They called the county. But here's the truth. I had done nothing illegal. I simply stopped maintaining the dam beyond its original capacity. The water went exactly where nature intended. Insurance companies refused to cover the damage, since the houses had been built illegally on a floodplain. Families were furious at the HOA. Within months, the development collapsed financially. People moved out, the HOA went bankrupt, and the land went back on the market. And guess who bought it back at a fraction of the price? Yep, me. Now, those 35 homes? Gone. Bulldozed. I restored the land. Let the floodplain return to marsh and meadow. My grandfather's lake is thriving again, and the fish are biting. And the HOA? Well, let's just say they don't send me complaint letters anymore, because they don't exist. So, what's the moral of the story? Don't steal from people who know the land better than you. Don't mess with family legacies. And most of all, don't build 35 homes on a floodplain controlled by the guy with the damn keys. Because when you do, well, let's just say, I'll open the gates and watch it flow.